Hi, my name is Oetu. I'm 22 years old, and I would define myself as someone who's extroverted and well-rounded. I accept people for who they are. So when it comes to studying fashion, I think women have always been the type of people that were marginalized. So I like to shine light on them when it comes to expressing their sexuality, expressing their womanhood. So just being a vessel or a foundation that I could be for them. Yes. I think how this project helped me grow as a designer is patience. I'm one person that struggles with procrastination, and on top of that, perfectionism on the same plane. So if I don't get it right the first time, I think I just self-sabotage. So with this project, I had to really sit down with myself and like relearn certain sewing strategies, such as the corset. That took a long time to do, but it came out really good, and I could say I'm really proud of myself. So I think just really sitting with your art and learning more how to be patient with it, that's what helped me.
My concept or theme was basically businesswomen, women in entrepreneurship, women who are their own bosses. So power clothing are usually your suit and tie, they're very basic, and I was just trying to be innovative and bring some style into it. So what inspired my collection is basically businesswomen. My mom and my sister are both very successful businesswomen, so they inspired my collection. 3 garments are named after them, and then the 1 garment is named after me, because I feel like I'm going to be the 3rd businesswoman in my family. More than anything, I am starting to identify who I am and what my style is and what I'm into, and I'm just very grateful that this project has helped me to create garments without assistance. Like I'm confident with saying that I know how to make something.
Yeah, so the theme of the actual collection is more of deconstruction. But I took another turn to what the usual deconstruction is. Most people, when they say deconstruction, you're thinking that the clothing is kind of like more simplified. But I made it more simplified in look, but I made it more useful in actual use. For example, so one of my outfits one of my garments, which has a zip on it. It's a t-shirt with a zip on it, sorry. So you can actually put pockets and put things inside your pocket so that you don't always have to wear a jacket, because it's actually a warm t-shirt. Another hoodie I have, that one has a zip underneath the actual pocket, so you can actually put a phone there and it will be hidden, you see. But when you look at it face value, it looks more simplistic compared to the usual hoodies and t-shirts you see.
I think this project has helped me in terms of being able to handle pressure and more or less come up with solutions along the way. When things don't work out, you have to improvise. So it's just taught me how to be flexible and adaptable. And I think it's a peek into how the professional career in fashion would look like outside of school. So I'm really excited, but nervous as well. We'll see how it goes. So my collection is inspired by African weaving practices. I sourced inspiration from weaving practices, particularly from the Zulu culture, ones that you would see on Ikanti, which is a Zulu mat, as well as other objects such as ukamba, which is I'd say a serving object for traditional beer. And these objects are made using reed grass. So my collection further on mimicked this source of inspiration through the earthy tones, as well as through the use of a textured fabric to look like the woven design details of these cultural objects. Yeah.
So my collection is called World of Whimsy. And from that title, you should get that I'm trying to world build a world of whimsical aesthetics and fashion and people. So through this, I want to show that fashion is a playground at the end of the day, and you use it as a means to express yourself. Yes, there's a practical factor, but for me, it's just to world build that whimsical that we can have in our reality and not be all that serious. I would say this project helped me to try and narrow my vision, quite honestly, because at first it was very broad and there was a lot of ways I could go with it, and that confused me and also kind of scared me. So it taught me how to firstly trust myself and my vision, and also just be able to use the skills that I've learned throughout my fashion school journey to narrow it down for the audience and for myself.
So my collection focuses around autism, specifically female undiagnosed autism, and how the dangers of what happens if it goes undiagnosed, because it's easier for boys to get a diagnosis for autism, but it's a lot harder for girls to get a diagnosis. And over time, that them not being undiagnosed leads to them living a life of like strife and being hard for them to fit into society, breakdowns and meltdowns and things like that. But even in adulthood, it's still hard to find proper diagnosis, because again, the current diagnosis criteria fits especially young boys. So my concept is actually story-based, and it follows the story of this young woman who, in her life, within all of the relationships that she has, the people around her carry on like poking things out at her, like mentioning she has this thing that's wrong, this thing that's weird, and just mention that she sticks out. So she internalizes all of those thoughts, and over time they just keep on growing and growing and growing, especially when she's alone. And it ends up creating a veil that separates her and the world, and that represents the symptom of masking, which is usually done by a lot of undiagnosed women. One thing I did notice with my collection that ended up being there is that the clothes themselves ended up being weighted. And I found out that a lot of autistic people like weighted clothing, so that was a plus. But yeah, the clothing on the outside, it's supposed to have fabrics that are good for stimming purposes. And then the inside is for comfort, so to prevent meltdowns or like overstimulation. And then the outside is to help stimulate them.
So the theme of my collection was corporate evening wear. So what I tried to do was incorporate evening wear into everyday lives. For example, if I can make something that is multifunctional, for example, something that you can wear at a wedding or a red carpet event or at a party, and still make it look much more nicer when you wear it to work. So the colors that I went for were mostly brown, because I really actually like the color brown, so I chose to let that stick. What inspired my collection was myself, actually, because while I was doing it, I realized that I had love for flowers that I actually didn't know existed in me. So I chose to make the flowers by hand and incorporate them in my garments. And what also inspired it was the evening wear itself, the Met Galas, the red carpet events, and everything that comes with being stylish and a little bit of bling involved. So when it comes to the project and how it has helped me grow, I didn't realize how much work it is that one person can put into one garment, which can actually last days. And it actually has made me feel as though it's not as easy as it looks. And usually I actually took that for granted, that people were joking when they said, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this garment, so I need to make sure that it looks great. I now understand what they really mean by that, because I've put in the work, I've seen my efforts, and I've seen the results of my work and how everything looks. And if something doesn't work for you, but you really need to do it, make it work for you and still get what you need out of it. So I'm happy I did that.